What is up, friends? South Park aired its pandemic special last night, so let's break it down. Spoilers ahead. Also, if you missed my face in my recent videos, I have good news for you. Here's my face. Right off the bat, let's talk about their decision to do an hour-long special instead of the start of a traditional South Park season. Personally, this is a decision I really like. Oftentimes, South Park season premieres feel totally overstuffed because they're cramming in so many current events that happened over the course of the 9 months the show was off the air, and 2020 had way more than your typical year to actually talk about and dissect, so the double-stuffed special episode format felt right. And on top of that, the episode actually felt like it flowed really well, and it didn't seem to meander too much on any of its storylines. And they really did have a lot to cover for this episode. They obviously covered the pandemic and all of the ways our world has changed thanks to it, i.e. social distancing, masks, school shutdowns. It also addresses police brutality, defunding the police, and the protests surrounding those events. And of course, they threw a little bit of Garrison Trump in there because it is 2020. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I'm really grateful that they aren't moving forward with a traditional season at the moment. Look, 2020 has been hard on everyone, and as much as I enjoyed laughing at this South Park special, the collective trauma of this entire year has been a lot. Having it all condensed into a 47-minute special is definitely cathartic in some ways, but I'm not exactly trying to spend my free time analyzing it all on a microscopic level. It just sounds exhausting, and doing it every week sounds even more exhausting given the state of everything. But that being said, let's jump into it a bit. It still makes me laugh that Matt and Trey are just very stubbornly moving forward with Tegridy Farms despite the clear fan complaints. At this point, it's actually one of my favorite things about the show. Like nearly every episode now, they just pretend they're gonna wrap up the Tegridy Farm storyline and go back to regular South Park, only to pull the rug out from under us and say, psych! And honestly, it just gets funnier every time for me. But the episode obviously covered a lot of what's been happening in the world these days. Randy parading around the pandemic special and making fun of other businesses that are failing could honestly even be a little meta commentary on the state of South Park. Tons of live action series and movies have been shut down due to COVID, but animation for the most part is kind of thriving. I really enjoyed Cartman's musical number, and it felt fitting for a South Park special, and Cartman taking advantage of the school over Zoom situation was perfectly on brand for the character. I mean, come on, of course Cartman would love quarantine, that makes too much sense. But it also effectively showcased kids' frustrations with the quarantine situation and the toll it's taking on some people's psyche. The entire episode, Stan seems to be overly concerned about Butter's well-being when he's obviously masking the fact that he himself is really struggling with it all. Okay, let's talk about the actual coronavirus plotline because, wow. I do think this was portrayed really well comedically, even if it's a complete what the f*** type of storyline, and I actually enjoyed how they tied the story into Randy's trip to China last season. That's actually kind of a fun callback that really does tie into the story at hand, and the little retcons showing Randy and Mickey's wild nights out partying were, well, they were something. I gotta say, as gross as this storyline was, it really did make me laugh, and I also was just perpetually saying, oh my god, over and over again at the television, which usually is the sign of a fun South Park episode. And Randy's concern with being outed as the person who created COVID was pretty representative of his more selfish traits that have come to the forefront of the show over the past few seasons. Overall, very gross storyline, but pretty funny. Oh my god, and I almost forgot about Randy's vaccine. That was so disgusting. But I did enjoy the mustache gag. I also appreciated that they made Randy, who is clearly just a selfish idiot in the most recent seasons, come across as the COVID denier, even though his brother-in-law is literally in the hospital with COVID. These establishing shots of Hell's Pass Hospital were bleak. They also decided to touch on the current discourse surrounding police in the United States, and honestly, while Matt and Trey's goals are always just to make people laugh first and foremost, I appreciated that they seemed to avoid the answer is somewhere in the middle meme that they're known for. They very clearly had the police shoot an unarmed black kid and cover it up. It's pretty cut and dry commentary. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of angry comments about this too, so thanks in advance for those angry comments. I think that the way they tried to tie in Garrison Trump only sort of worked, but it didn't feel too ham-fisted or anything. I like that the kids knew to use Mr. Slave as a means to get through to Garrison, which it's kind of a nice, fun callback to old South Park. These days it's weird that Garrison is Trump, and I think we all kind of miss the old Garrison, so having this one thing that connected back to who Garrison used to be it's nice. It's just a nice callback, and I'm definitely curious if they were setting anything up moving forward. They basically just painted Trump as a dude who is willfully endangering the country, and then they doubled down on this at the end when he killed the pangolin and the vaccine scientists. I also think that the way they gave Cartman a little humanity in this episode went a long way. His one goal the entire episode was to get back to quarantine mode instead of going to school, and seeing how hurt Stan was by the ongoing events actually caused him to go against his own desires, which is a very, very rare thing to see from Cartman. Overall, I was pretty impressed with their ability to weave all of this stuff into a mostly effective story this year. Like I mentioned up top, I think doing this special double-length episode for the first time ever solved a lot of the issues we see with South Park season premieres recently. They actually had the room to spare in the story to cover all of these issues instead of overstuffing the episode while trying to catch up on a year's worth of current events. It was a smart move. And I absolutely cracked up that they once again faked everyone out about finally ending the Tegridy Farm storyline. I took this final scene as another sort of Matt and Trey confronting the audience situation. Sharon is the audience surrogate here, and she's been staunchly anti-Tegridy Farms for the better part of 2 seasons now, but when Randy sees that she too has grown a Tegridy mustache, he knows she's been partaking in his product. I think this is sort of a playful jab at the audience who complain about Tegridy Farms, basically saying, well, you're still watching the damn show, so why would we stop? I also think that Randy's final line here about doing more specials is definitely indicating that rather than a regular season of South Park, we'll probably be seeing a handful of specials. I would bet a large sum of money that we're going to be seeing an election special dropping next month. You heard it here first. And honestly, I think this is kind of a cool evolution for the show. It sort of lets them do these longer stories they've been trying to do with the serialized seasons, but in a more concise package. I'm eager to see how many specials they do, or if they even go back to the regular format this year. It should be interesting to find out. As far as future coverage for these South Park specials from me go, that might be up in the air. Unfortunately, I can't put out reviews the same night the show airs this year since I work on another project on Wednesday nights at the moment. And honestly, if the next South Park is an election special, I'm not confident I'll even want to talk about it. After the last election, I was just so exhausted that I didn't cover any more of South Park that season. We'll see how I'm feeling come November, but that's where I want to pass it off to you. How did you all like this new format for South Park? Do you think we'll be getting more hour-long specials instead of regular episodes? Did you find the coverage of 2020 exhausting or cathartic? Let me know below in the comments. If you like this video, do not forget to subscribe and stay tuned. I've got a lot of good cartoon content coming up for you. If you haven't checked it out yet, I've been covering Futurama the last couple months, and I've got a lot more planned from the world of tomorrow. All right, peace.
Johnny to Cellos!